So yeah, just welcome you guys to feel free to come to the stage, grab a seat, and we're gonna start very. And Jessica, check this out. I'm gonna go live and look at the animation that it makes. It's actually pretty cool.
Okay.
Boom. That is really
That's
cute.
awesome.
And this is live on Spatial, so this means that people that have liked the space before, they get a notification. But
Okay.
then at 7, we're gonna go live on YouTube for the live stream.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, Camilo, how's it going with the live stream? Everything ready? Did you send the messages? No worries. All right, for sure. I'm gonna bring the portal, the entrance portal closer. Let's test out. I'm gonna test out by jumping off. All right. Yeah, this is better. Okay, what happened? Yeah, I used the bring users to seat button testing out because last time it wasn't working for some reason. I guess that's a little secret that maybe Maxi sprinkled that little secret. Maybe we can get in. All right. All right. All right. All right. Hello, Harry. Welcome to the stage.
Hello, hello. Thank you.
By any chance, you know where you're walking into? Or just exploring?
No, I've been following the notifications on Sunken Blimp for a while. I've been following this
Oh,
stage
true.
for
You've
quite a
been you've
while.
been
Real
here.
like the
Yeah. That's right. I'm sorry. From a distance, it's hard to recognize characters. Not gonna lie. Well, welcome back.
thank you. Good to know
Today we're
you
gonna have a
remember
very
me.
special.
Amazing.
Tonight we're gonna have a very special. Sorry.
No. It really looks amazing. Really interesting. What's been the update in the fashion industry in the metaverse? I presume you will be talking about that.
Oh, that is true. You're right. You're correct. Uh, I am so sorry. But welcome back to the stage. And today we're going to have a presentation by Jessica Evans, who just got to the stage. Hello, Jessica. We're going to start the presentation very soon. And
Hi,
Jessica is going to
everyone.
share some amazing work. Hello. And yeah, like feel free to explore the stage and some of the work that is already displayed around, but she's gonna she comes here with a very badass presentation to explain these, which we're super excited for. Honestly, us at the team, right, working with the speakers and seeing 3D models before the presentation, we get so excited because we're actually putting everything in place and organizing the stage, and we're like, "Ooh, I can't wait to hear about this." And Jessica, just gonna let you know, are any of these outfits like available in physical, in the physical realm too? Because this is real badass. Not gonna lie.
So the yellow one, the beige one, the one that I'm running over to now, this one is available in physical form, but it's the
Ooh.
only one that is at the moment. The idea is more to have all of the pieces as digital ones to try and reduce mass production of fashion. So just
Oh,
express them
that's
in the
awesome.
metaverse basically and enjoy them for that.
That is great.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, but I actually put the beige one in augmented reality earlier today,
Yeah.
and that was a really cool experience. Let me see if I can
Yeah.
bring up
I checked
the
it out. It was
video.
awesome. I really liked what you did with it. It was sick.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna put up the video if you don't mind. But
Yeah,
basically,
definitely.
I added to that allows you to just place a couple of items so you can actually move it around. And personally, my field is not necessarily fashion, right? I'm actually learning from you guys, like all the speakers talking about it, but I know nothing about fashion. But when I'm working with space design and some of the very helpful to actually work on a project for a bit, and then I put it in the cube. I call it the cube, right? But so you can actually move it around with your hands and visualize it, put close to your eye and look something. I miss the tactile sense to digital design. So this is ways that really help with understanding what you're designing and having this feedback. I don't know if you feel that when you're designing virtual stuff, the feeling of like grabbing something so you can look in different angles. Um, but yeah, so I put your outfit there, and it was fun to play around and do some clones.
Yeah, that's really cool. No, I haven't played around a lot with like building my own virtual reality stuff with like a proper headset and like physically building it like by my hands with a headset and like hand holders and stuff. But I'd love to try it sometime
Mhm.
because it just looks so
Yes,
cool and it would be such an amazing way to
100%.
design because you can actually like feel and experience stuff so much better.
Yes, we have a couple of headsets at the Sunken Blimp studio, and it's honestly mind blowing to design in VR because it really feels like like you have sail up and down, you can get inside, you can work it as a model. And I feel like for fashion as well, I've seen many people using this one application called Gravity Sketch to design shoes and all types of accessories. And I definitely recommend, if you know anyone that has a VR headset or something that you can download apps on, definitely recommend playing with Gravity Sketch.
Yeah, I will. I'll definitely look into it. Out of interest,
right.
can you see my
Mhm.
screen now? I'm trying to like share it to put up the presentation.
Uh, I grabbed it already, and that's the maybe not gin because it's already morning in Tokyo. But if you guys are anywhere where it's night still, definitely recommend watching a Portal. Anyways, I'm digressing. For those that are already here and waiting for the presentation, welcome back to the Sunken Blimp Stage. It's a pleasure having you guys here. If this is your first time, let me just explain real quick. This is the stage where we host presentations about whatever you can think of. We've had presentations here on the topics of architecture, design, science, technology, artificial intelligence, art, comedy, you name it. Even neurology. We're here talking about neurology watching in the stage. Anyway, such a pleasure every week to come and welcome amazing speakers to talk a little bit about what they do, some of their work, what they're involved in, what might them, because maybe it inspires something in the audience. You never know what you're going to stumble upon. Sometimes people are just exploring around and they stumble upon a stage where someone is talking about algae and turning algae into fashion, like what you guys are going to experience today. And it's amazing to see the ripple effects and what conversations that generates. So yeah, now you know a little bit about the Sunken Blimp Stage. My name is Matthias. I'll be your host today, and I would like to introduce a very special speaker that is our third speaker on the series of fashion. So for the past 3 weeks, we've been having the series of fashion. So that is the common topic within the latest presentations. And we've had the very first presentation with amazing augmented reality fashion by DressX. And then last week, we've had a presentation by Bridget from Paraprint showcasing 3D printing fashion design, which was also fascinating. So if you guys haven't seen it, I recommend you guys watching the recording. And then today, we have a super, super, super special guest, Jessica Evans. And for those that don't know Jessica, allow me to introduce her. So Jessica is an interdisciplinary artist covering the space between fashion, technology, and nature. Her work explores speculative future outcomes on how we can live in the digital age while living in harmony with the natural world. A fashion designer by trade, her work includes collaborating with living organisms such as bacteria, cellulose, and algae to make these future speculations a reality. So thank you so much, Jessica, for being here. A round of applause, and the stage is yours.
Thank you. Hi everybody. That was a fabulous introduction. Thank you so much. So yeah, what I'm going to be taking on today is basically my journey's been, different projects that I've done to get here. So let's jump into it. So hopefully I'm now standing in my seat, but we're gonna crack on and hopefully the presentation is gonna work. Okay, great. So this is just like a nice little graphic. I've got to kind of explain about where I intersect myself as a designer. So for me, I place myself at the intersection of fashion, nature, and technology. And I really like because I find that like representing clothing in an online forum is just such an incredible way to push my creativity and kind of like break down the boundaries of physics and just explore more with what I can do, which is just really awesome. So I began my fashion design journey when I was pretty young. Like I was always creating throughout like my early teens. And this was really awesome for me because it was just such a creative and open and free environment, but also a place to as well as having my work showcased by Tom Dixon in the studio. So one thing that I really came to discover when I was at my time at university here was all of the pollution and like the kind of horror side of fashion. So looking at the amount of waste that it creates, the damage it actually does to our environment. And as I grew up in quite a natural area, you know, I was surrounded by fields and animals a lot of the time. Like it really concerned me, and I really kind of lost heart with fashion. I didn't know what to do with it. And so it started really powering me. This like after I had this whole I don't know what to do with my fashion career, I went to Australia, experienced a bit of life, and also work with some different brands. So these were a couple of and animals, a lot of brands I worked with in really Australia, and they were really ranging from fashion, very sustainable to slightly more fast fashion. And so it started working really across the whole spectrum was amazing for me because I just learned so much about the pros and cons to all of the different systems and how they really worked. Like when I was working in some of the fast fashion ones, it really see how much fashion is churned out, the amount of waste, the amount of pollution, like the lack of creativity, which was there. And when in comparison to some of the passion was through the roof, and like every decision that they made was powered by the fact that they needed to think about the planet and being sustainable. And that to me was super inspiring. It was another level of a challenge, but I also loved that. It was just so much more interesting to me than it. So while I spent a year in Australia at this point, and during that time I experienced two major ecological events which happened.
Cut you off. I'm sorry to interrupt. Real quick, sharing your screen again. I think some people messaged that they weren't able to see it.
Yeah,
the
sure.
slide changing. Just stop sharing and share again. I apologize for that.
It's fine. I don't know how to unshare it and reshare it.
In the bottom, you should be able to see a little button that says stop sharing, or go to the actual spatial. Yes, there you go.
There we go. Okay. It might have disappeared again. You might. I don't know if it's gonna come in a weird place.
I'm on it. All right, there we go.
Who knows?
It's part of the, the experience.
Part of the fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people missed me making the screen really big. So this makes everyone equal now. Oh, I'm sorry for walking over it.
It's all right.
There we go. Carry on.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, just shout again if anyone can't see something. Okay. So yeah, while I was in Australia, I experienced, it was 2019 to 2020, so I experienced some of the worst bushfires that they had on record to that point. And part of that was fueled by rising temperatures and extreme drought that they had had for like 6 to 8 months. Like it had been really, really serious for them. And I really remember walking outside of my house and not being able to see about like 5 to 10 feet in front of me, which was absolutely crazy coming from the UK. And I just hadn't ever experienced something like that before, which is something that I'm blessed to not have experienced before, but also it just really hit home like the horror that is climate change. And it's something that we really need to address now. And like the sense of urgency really built with me for this. Standing on the stage. Next ecological crisis was COVID basically led was I had to undertake the final year of mine, basically all of it online, and that was a whole other set of challenges. I had to create all of my collection pretty much all digitally, so this really kick-started my career and love of digital fashion, and I had to find really creative ways to work around it. There are some comments saying people can't hear me, which is I don't know, can some people raise their hands if they can hear me, or if they can't, I can go back over some of the points. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you for
I
the
can
claps.
hear us.
Okay, I'll just keep going then. If you can't hear me again, just keep putting stuff in the comments. Yeah, so I was undertaking my final year of uni, but what this actually gave me a real opportunity for was to kind of redirect. So because I could really get into, led me to getting into more biological systems, because I had the time to explore them and grow them at home. So my final collection was Biofabric Futures, and what this basically was is a collection which was designed to protect and inform the wearer about climate change, so really inspired by the bushfires, but also offer new connections to nature through this. So the materials that I used throughout it were upcycled firefighters' uniforms, which came from the South Wales Fire and Rescue Service, which otherwise would have gone into landfill, as mycelium, which is the root network of a mushroom, and SCOBY, which is a symbiotic culture of, and yeah, I was able to now start first experiments within a minute. But what I was trying to use these to do was basically explore how we could use these natural materials to create new options and new materiality within fashion, and use digital fashion to express that. So one of the real questions for the collection was, can we use biotechnology such as gene editing to grow sensory materials from bacteria? So when I was growing my bacteria, I was imagining that if we could use technology such as CRISPR, you know, we could hack it and make it change color when exposed to high levels of air pollution, for example, like a pH strip does. So then I tried to express this through the digital fashion in this clip. Ooh. Oh. Okay, I'll just leave the video there because I don't want the screen to go off again. But yeah, so that was me really starting to dabble in this world of biotechnology, nature. So bringing in other elements of nature into my collection was really through inspiration from mushrooms, and that was just about really connecting the wearer with the natural, slightly different way. So a lot of the looks have got very like floaty elements to try and make them seem quite softer and more natural, and they were quite oversized for comfort as well. So then some of my first experiments of actually working with mycelium was to grow a range of hats. And like, it was just something that I've always wanted to do, and it was surprisingly easy to do as well. I just created a mold of that top hat out of cardboard and duct tape, and then grew the mycelium in it for a couple of weeks, and then I had this hat, and it was incredible. And what this then led to was actually a collaboration with the Magical Mushroom Company. And for those of you that don't know, they're one of the largest UK suppliers of mycelium packaging. So it's like trying to create an alternative to styrofoam and, you know, like polystyrene and things like that. And this was just an amazing collaboration to do. And it was great to see the hats taken to like a much larger scale.
Jessica, I'm so sorry. I think the so I would definitely if you click on the top the name of the Sunken right at the top of the screen. If you click there, you can see the name Jessica sharing screen, and if you click on that, you can actually see a full screen there, and there is an issue, but every now and then it freezes on the stage, but you can go watch full screen. So can we try resharing one more time, Jessica? I'm sorry about that.
Of course. No, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I didn't think.
No, it's all good.
Okay. Again, I don't know where the screen comes in.
I got it.
Thank you.
Like from lead architect to like screen. All right, there we go. Perfect.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you. Okay, so anyway, I grew all of these amazing like production and working in the collaboration to really lean into the digital designs again. So it was just reinforcing to me this need to really get into this world and actually develop like my digital fashion skills. So what this then led to further on, because this kind of turned into a bit of an obsession, the bacteria and the mycelium, I then went and applied to the MA Masters that I'm studying now at Central St. Martin's. And so this is a project that I did with a bunch of my course mates. And what we basically were looking at within this was, because plants can communicate in loads of different ways, which are invisible to the naked eye, we wanted to try and harness that. So plants traditionally communicate with each other through sending chemical signals into the air, or through very diverse underground mycelial networks, which is amazing, but we obviously can't see any of it. So we were thinking for this Conveco project, could we bring biosensors into it, which would attach onto a plant and connect to a satellite, so we could then communicate and understand with each other. And this was a project that we worked on for 6 weeks as a group, and I was absolutely fascinating. Had 4, so I wanted to do it somewhat further, and then I was bringing my digital fashion back into it. So I was imagining that if we could build the biosensors into the clothes, you know, if you then touched the plant wearing these clothes, would you be able to talk to the plant? You know, would you be able to interface with it? So I was then trying to create some visuals to then express this idea. So yeah, they're just some short little clips, just me playing around to try and see, you know, what would this look like if our clothes could actually communicate and act as a tool to communicate for us with plants. And what this really did for me was kind of inspire like a lot more questions about how we live and how we interact with the world as a tool to live more with nature. You know, what would we learn from nature? What new lessons would there be? You know, what would it have to tell us? You know, would we actually like what Mother Nature had to hear if they could share thousands of years of experience with us? You know, I imagine they probably would have a lot to say that we wouldn't want to hear, but I think it would be fascinating to still ask the question. So yeah, these are some more kind of close-ups of the designs that I was doing. But yeah, so all of this has basically kind of led me to the current stage of a project that I'm working on at the moment, which is actually almost taking a step back and bringing my designs and ideas back into like the reality of where we are at the moment in the world within the climate crisis. One thing I really love about my course is that it's very focused on the reality of the problems that we face today. It's not speculative. You know, we've got to be very, not serious, but, you know, we've got to really think about where we place our projects. So what I wanted to do, because fashion is, you know, physical fashion is so wasteful and digital fashion is so much better in comparison. But digital fashion also then has this carbon impacts. And again, it's coming back to the invisible problems that we can't see with our naked eye and we need to still address and actually deal with, because it could become even more serious problem basically. So I started looking at basically the carbon impact. So I'm mapping a lot of energy that my laptop is producing, drawing that is being subsequently produced from that, to try and work out, you know, how much is produced when I'm just creating one digital fashion piece. So this was a piece that I created when I was spending 15 minutes using it in Blender, doing texturing. So it's very simple, but it's quite effective. And part of me wants to explore within this project how we can change the practices of digital fashion to work in a low carbon way. You know, if we really reduce the amount of time we spend on creating a piece, like what does that actually do? How does that change the design? How does that change our operations of digital fashion? And what does that mean for the future of the industry in terms of campaigns, graphics, production, visualization? So that was another piece again on this side. And then actually, if you follow me, because another part of what this project was doing was wanting to actively offset the carbon I was creating. So in part of that, I started to grow a bioreactor. Sorry, I started to build a bioreactor, which is over here. I'm kind of like running around a little bit in front of it. But what I wanted to do is trap the same amount of carbon that I was creating in an organism to make a direct offset of it. So I started to grow carbon eaters on the planet and just see how quickly I could grow it to then make a direct offset of the carbon fashion that I was producing. So this is still a project that is ongoing. There's still a lot to do with it, but what you've got over here in this video is like just a bit more of an explanation about a different way of producing digital fashion and different considerations to have basically. So yeah, as I said, it's something that's still going on, but I'm very excited about it. And I hope that it will kind of be the future of digital fashion, where we actually consider the carbon impacts as much as the water and the waste and everything else from physical fashion. Thank you for listening. Are there any questions? Love the dancing. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Jessica, so much for the presentation. Thank you, everyone. And also, the floor is open now for questions. So if you have any questions about the work, about the presentation, or anything at all, feel free to either open up your mic or to type it in the chat. to the right. And actually, while people are thinking about questions and all of that, I actually have a actually amazing to see the presentation, and it's pretty fascinating. All of the different projects that we're working on. One thing that really fascinates me is the idea of a biosensor in a way that displays the change in air quality or something like that, and changes coloration of some sort. And actually, I wanted to ask, what do you see the applications of that, like in fashion, as being somewhat of a statement or having somewhat out of identity, right? If you think about the places that we live, right? If you live in a higher, let's say, I wouldn't say status, but in a nicer area, usually there's more vegetation, the air is nicer versus a more urban, crowded type of environment. The air quality is usually not as good. Do you think the clothes themselves could reflect like social economic status in a way, or how do you see that portraying in society? It's just a general question. There's no right or wrong, right? But like it got me
Yeah,
curious about that.
it's a really interesting question. I mean, I definitely think clothing always plays a part, I think, in representing social and economic status. And when, if you're thinking about like that project, especially within climate emergency, it will be the people who have the most money and then the most access to different technologies, which will be able to withstand it the most, which is the case already. So I think as CRISPR is still fairly new, it will take quite a long to actually come into fashion to be practical, but ideally I would like it more to be than just a statement piece. I'd like it to actually be a material which can create like kind of convey information and offer like security to the wearer. It's another piece of data that they can have to hand, but as a visual aid rather than a number. So, but I also think it's going to be hard for that to be like mass produced. But then you never know. Bacteria is actually really easy to grow. Like it's just water and a bit of culture. So, if the genes and the organism could be easily spread around, like maybe it could be a mass market thing, and then maybe it could transcend social economic barriers. That would be the ideal, because it really needs to go to the people who aren't living in a all balanced environment more than anything. Yeah. Hope that kind of answers the question in a roundabout way. Yeah, I've just put on the screen the link to my website as well as my Instagram if anyone wants to see any more visuals or like see and find out some more information about the work. Does anyone have any more questions?
Oh, I was mentioning, I didn't realize it was muted. I was just mentioning that thank you very much for the answer. Uh, it's great to think about these things. And I was mentioning that Jin, he was here earlier and he saw the presentation, and he mentioned in the chat that it's very interesting. It was an interesting presentation, and he never thought about biological fabrics. It's mind-blowing topip. Yeah, a
Yeah,
thank you note
it's
from
it's
Jin.
really cool. It's such a
Hmm.
kind of like a rabbit hole that you can go into, because it's just so different to what we have as mass production and what we know to be conventional materials. And as soon as you start bringing microorganisms into it, it just opens so many doors for like collaboration with, can you collaborate with algae? Can you collaborate with mycelium? It's like, can you call them collaborators? Is that like the right word for it? Where are the boundaries within ethics and everything? It's a bit of a minefield, but that's the beauty of it, because it's so new, there's no right or wrong. So you can just like start creating and reimagining everything. And then it just, yeah, absolutely blows my
Absolutely.
mind still.
And I think what blows my mind even more is even when you bring in the idea of mycelium, right? And how interconnected into the ground mycelium is, and how we cannot even grasp the information transfer that happens within the ground when mycelium is present. So, even with I mean, this is a long question, but like even talking about consciousness, right? That, perhaps, fungi, they have a different type of consciousness that we cannot comprehend or track or measure. And therefore, when we're using these things, it even comes into the design ethics of things, right? How much, if you're growing, using nature to grow a specific product, how much, what's the percentage you are the designer versus nature's the designer? The credits go to who here? It's an interesting thread to pull.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. And consciousness is such a curious idea within nature, because in so many ways it's conscious. Like, we recognize consciousness within humans, and in other ways it's not. Pulses bits of impact and grows, and it can create new roots and connections all the time, and you don't really see it. But if you look at like slime mold, for example, like you can literally see, and when it grows really, really fast, and you can literally see it growing and retracting in real time to find like new sources and new pathways to get to different foods. I used it to design the Tokyo subway system, because it's so intelligent, finding the quickest routes to different things. But that's like a totally different type of consciousnness.
Absolutely.
But then also, you've got to give it credit as a collaborator if it can create something really smarter than what a human can do. Like it challenges AI almost. Like, AI will be one of the most intelligent beings in the planet soon, and it will probably just rival Mother Nature at this rate.
That's great. Thanks, Jessica, for the beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
I really appreciate all the work. A bit of a bummer that it coincided with a comment, because I know personally, like a couple of a bunch of the reoccurring members are usually here every Wednesday. They message saying, "Oh, I can't wait to miss it. Like, I'm looking forward to the recording." But yes, thank you so much for the presentation.
Nice,
and I hope to have you back. I hope we can do a panel discussion or something that we can bring your projects again. And truly, once a Dive Live speaker, always a Dive Live speaker.